You mentioned last time you were on the show a National Geographic miniseries on Philippine basketball. Can you tell us what that was like, and when can we expect that?
So that we filmed that in the month of May, um, and it's a Philippine production. It's the Manila office of National Geographic Television produced it or hired the production company. So it's the first. What was very cool about it was the first um, totally local Philippine production, with the exception of myself, that 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 National Geographic has ever done in the Philippines. So that was sort of a point of pride for the filmmakers. It was, and it's still in the editing phase. I think it should be out early next year. I certainly hope it comes out by then. It was great. I don't think I've ever been so exhausted. I was a little uncomfortable doing it, but they asked me to be the host of the 4-part miniseries, so all of my bad verbal tics were on display, and I tried my best to do a good job. At least since it was basketball, I came in with a half decent comfort level. But the experience was great. We sort of touched on a lot of the same themes of that make Philippine basketball so fascinating to me, which is the roles it plays in people's lives, the passion that people have across the board for the sport. So we went to deep into the provinces and sort of had to walk for 3 hours in one place, carrying camera equipment to find this dirt court that was built in a town that was sort of um, between divided with its allegiances between the communist rebels in the Philippines and the Philippine army. And the story was that the court was the only place where they ever sort of hung out together. Um, so we got to just see some really beautiful, places where people had built basketball courts out of almost nothing.
That sounds kind of dangerous. Were there like security concerns, or did they just basketball was like their common ground where they were just like, screw all the
I mean,
disagreements we have?
all of the whenever almost every time, I mean, there is a real it's called the New People's Army. There's a real communist rebellion that has been ongoing, really since, in different stages, in a different forms, since World War II in the Philippines. But it's you don't just sort of like take a walk in the woods and like stumble across like a communist army camp. They it's not as bad as people in Manila often will make it sound. There's this sort of people who are sort of live in the cities, closer to the water. They always point up into the mountains and just say like, oh, NPA communists. As if like the minute you go, a little bit up there, you're just going to get kidnapped. It never happens that way. And in this town, this was the people who live in the town who really aren't on either side. They're just the people who sort of live in this rural area where there is both a military presence and a rebel presence. And it was more interesting to talk to them about how they negotiated their lives, sort of appeasing different sides of this ongoing sort of conflict, and how from time to time they told stories about both people from both sides getting together on the basketball court and playing.
How is this miniseries different from what you're working on with PBS for the Pacific Rim's documentary?
Um, I well, one, it's a purely it's originated in the Philippines, and I think it initially is planned to be part of for the Philippine audience, and with some ambition to spread it out and make it go either regional, or international after that. Um, the film that I'm working on with Ramona Diaz, who's the director of a couple other movies. One most recent is called The Learning, about Filipina teachers in Baltimore. Um, it's a more longer term, sort of full blown documentary project. I mean, Ramona Diaz is a, I was kind of shocked when she emailed me one day saying she was interested in making a book, film out of Pacific Rims, because she's like the biggest name in like the in the small subset of Filipino documentaries. So it's going to be like a 5-year thing, and it's still really just getting off the ground. We got our first grant a couple months ago, but if it comes together, it'll be fantastic.
Based on the huge success of Lithuania basketball in the last couple of years and just the crowds that seem to be insane, is there a chance we can commission you to write a book about Lithuanian basketball?
I mean, if people want to commission me to do something, there's a good chance it can get done. Um, but a lot of the time people ask me about other countries where you could write a book like Pacific Rims, where there's this larger than life connection between people and basketball, and the sport plays this outsized role in their lives. And I mean, Lithuania is usually the first country that I mention when they ask me, because of the history with beating Russia in the '92 Olympics, and just all the great players that have come from there, um, and just from what I've seen now. There may be someone who is more suited to write that than I am, since I've never been there. Basically, to send me there, you're sending me there to go from scratch, to start from scratch. And I'm kind of, it's hard. Honestly, it's hard for me to get the Philippines out of my system. Like, I keep wanting to go back and do more stuff there.
All right, Rafe. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Yep.
And thanks to your Grantland staff for photobombing our production here. That was a lot
Say
of
hi
fun.
to Joven for us.
Yeah, Joven. All right, you said her name wrong too. Great, we're even. All right, man. We'll catch you later. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks,
Cool.
Ray.
Thank you so much, guys.